All right. Next Patreon request of the day, and this one comes from my good friend, the Mount Vernon kid, who asked me to talk about a certain topic. That being, um, what period piece horror movies. My thoughts on period. Basically, the question was, do we need more period piece horror movies? And the short answer is yes. But I kind of thought maybe a little alteration to that answer as well. Essentially, talk about why period piece horror films are needed, and also talk about the need for them. Now, it's kind of funny that when you think period piece horror, you usually think Victorian era or something like that. But now it's kind of the plot is the definition of that is very different now, because literally going back to 2000, a horror movie set in 2001 is now a period piece horror. Think on that for a second. There are a horror movie set in the 1990s, not one from the 90s like Scream or whatever. I'm talking a modern day horror movie today that is set in the 90s is now considered period piece horror. And doesn't that just make you old if you were born then? I don't remember what movie it was, but the horror movie was set in 1997, and I went, that's period piece now? Right in my soul. So you have that to go on. That's the thing, is that there's such a wide definition now of if there's a modern horror coming out now. And I'm not saying period piece horror means Texas Chainsaw Massacre now. No, that movie came out of the time. I am speaking directly about horror movies that come out today and they're set in a different time. So it's not just the master who now has the bookmark on period piece horror, Robert Eggers. It's also guys who want to do Ty West, who did technically period piece horror movies with Pearl, X, and Maxine. See what I'm saying? So yeah, there is now a wider definition of period piece horror movies, in my opinion. I really do think that there is now a broader, more definitive edition, version of that. I think the other thing that is important to note is that these films give you kind of a sense of a snapshot in time. Now, granted, not every one of these horror films are accurate. I do have to stress that not every period piece horror movie is definitively accurate of the time. It's more of a Hollywood edition of it more times than not. Again, I have to go back to Robert Eggers. Everyone's not Robert Eggers. So there is that, you have to take into account. Now, the other major thing that really kind of plays into it, and I am sorry about the lighting. There's a thunderstorm fast approaching, so sorry about the lighting. But anyway, so there is kind of a vast number of horror movies now that now can be considered in a different point in time. There are again, I think Victorian horror is kind of the definition of period piece horror. But I think there are other times now that I think one thing I would really love to see more of is are horror movies set during further back. I would love to see more horror. One movie that really upset me, but I appreciate the effort, was a caveman horror story called The Darkness or something. It was Against the Dark, or Out of Darkness. That was it. Out of Darkness. And that movie had a lot of potential. It was a caveman horror story, but then it turned out to be The Village. I think I said enough, but yeah. So I would love to see another crack at a horror movie set in a different time. I would love to have a horror movie set further back, somewhere during the 1800s, not during 1800s, but the 1700s or the 11th century. And we do have those, but they are more fantasy horror. That's the problem, is that they're more dark fantasy. Excuse me. I would love to see one movie in particular does do the period piece fantasy thing pretty well. Is a movie called The Headhunter. It's a really solid movie about a executioner who's hunting the monster that killed his daughter. It's dark. It's brutal. I really like it. Another thing of period piece horror I would like to see again, I would really like to see more Western horror. I love Old West horror. I love those kind of films. I love anything when you do anything with the Old West. And the reason why I say that is because like when I like seeing Old West horror. Like a perfect example is Bone Tomahawk. I think you can find it on Tubi. But Bone Tomahawk is basically a Western horror about a group of a small Western town with Kurt Russell as the sheriff, so already a win. And you have Patrick Wilson in the film as well. And basically, the town gets attacked by a group of Neanderthal natives, and it's a cool horror story. It's a brutal horror story. It also has Sid Haig in the start of the film, as well as what's his name? He played Dewey in Scream. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. But yeah, so that's really cool. But the reason why I like Western horror so much is because Western horror is the Old West in of itself. It is kind of a fantasy in its own right. It was like the last frontier at the time. Like, there were very little rules. It was undiscovered country. There was a lot of supernatural fears still about. It was like the last gasp of a world of unknown. So I really do. It was like the modernization coming face to face with the primal nature of both man and the wilderness. So it's like the Old West was really was a really hostile place, but like I said, it was the last frontier in America, and also it had a lot of supernatural elements to it. You had all these beliefs from other nations, especially like Native Americans crossing into each other, things like that. So when you have a period piece Western story, I'm always in. Granted, there aren't many good ones. That's the problem. Is that there aren't many good ones. Like I said, Bone Tomahawk's a good one. I think another one that you guys should check out is The Dark and the Wicked. That's a solid one. And I feel like I'm missing one, but yeah. So yeah, I really love period piece horror. That really kind of tickles my pickle. But I would I'm really hoping now there's so many variation. But personally, I would just like to see further back. I don't want to see a horror. I want to see more horror movies that rather than 1800, we do 1700, like The Witch. But every time we do those, it's just a witch movie. That's the problem, is that we always do something different. Give me something like a Bigfoot movie set in the 1700s or something like that. Anyway, so you guys tell me in the comments below, what do you guys think of period piece horror? Do you guys like them, hate them, and what other eras would you like to see a part of it? Just comment below, let me know. Once again, I'd like to thank my good friend Chris for this Patreon request and continued patronage. And like I said, if you'd like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link in the description box below. Head on over to my Patreon, hit the second tier. That'll allow you access to do so. But other than that, I hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.